What's up guys, Hype Sounds here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this crazy future bass kind of sound. Let's give that alone a listen. So this is a really cool sound. It's really characterized by FM synthesis, and so I'm going to show you guys how to make it in massive, and which is kind of using a workaround. They have some basic FM synth elements in massive, but then I'm also going to show you guys a little better way how to do it in FM8 by Native Instruments. So let's get cracking. Let me load up a new instance of massive real quick. Okay, so now we have our massive open, and let's get started with our waveform. So this is going to be a sound where you're going to really want to choose some different crazy waveforms, as obviously it's a pretty crazy sound. But so I've just, for simplicity, I just kind of like this electric waveform, and then I'm going to play it safe with this square saw business. So I'm going to pull both of these last two down an octave, 12 semitones, by clicking and dragging right here. And then I'll turn the amplitude up almost all the way on the electric and all the way on the square saw. So let's give that a listen real quick. So we're getting there. Okay guys, this is where it gets tricky. So basically everything controlling the timbre of the sound is going to be behind the filter, and especially here in the modulation oscillator. So this is how we're using a workaround. So normally a sound like this, we'd be using FM synthesis, where you modulate a carrier waveform with a modulation oscillator, and the superposition of waves resulting is just really crazy. It totally alters the timbre of the sound and the harmonic content, which is, for this kind of a sound, something we really like. So we'll create like a brief plucky stab where there is all that harmonic content, and the sound really changes and breathes over time. So without romanticizing it too much, let's take this pitch and pitch it up one octave, and here's where we grab our phase. And so for now, we're just going to put it on oscillator 1. And so what it does is we're applying a sine wave here from this phase component to oscillator 1, and it's going to make oscillator 1 all crazy over time. So let me just demonstrate that. So you totally heard what I was talking about in there. You know, you can totally just hear the timbre of the sound come out. So what we're going to want to do is I copied the envelope from my other preset over there. So I'm just going to paste the envelope. And so we're going to really want to use this envelope going to the phasing right here. So we'll crank the phase up a ton. And so this envelope is going to control how this wheel turns. And so what we're going to want to do is, I already applied some macros here, so we'll title these macros. So you can see here that when I turn 2, let's give that a listen. Sounds pretty neat, right? Okay, and so the other part of the sound is we're going to grab a low pass filter, and let's make another envelope and route it up here. And so whenever 3 hits, it's going to make this crazy low pass filter open up and let through a lot of our harmonics that we want. And so that's pretty much the sound. The only other thing than that is I think on the third envelope, I've put in a really long attack. And so it changes over time, and it makes, I don't know, it just kind of keeps it interesting. The other things you can do is, obviously you're going to want to apply a reverb. And so I like to do a bigger reverb with just a little bit of dry wet. And then just for fun, I did a little delay sync. So just a little bit of delay. And then I did, this is kind of my go-to, is 3/16 and 4/16. So if you enhance a little stereo delay, it gives sound this spatial effect. It's a psychoacoustic effect called the Haas effect. And I have some really cool audio effect racks I'll actually show you here in just a second that you can grab. That's totally changed the way I think about the stereo field and my music, and it really helps me mix depth into them. So if you haven't heard about the Haas effect, definitely look that up. So let's give this a listen. So that sounded pretty cool. That sounded pretty much just like it. There's a kind of a weird weird hiss effect. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from. But what we can also do is take this amplitude envelope, which pretty much controls the amplitude of our phasing, and we can also route it to white noise. And so we can have some bright noise hitting, and it sounds kind of cool. So we kind of like that little bit of chiff at the beginning of the sound. So that's kind of a neat way of doing that. So the other way would be to use FM8 here. So let's play the MIDI clip in there. Super interesting, right? And you could do this with just about any synthesizer. In fact, I might even try and whip it up real quick with the Ableton native synthesizer here. But so let's go to our envelopes. This is starting. So we have F. This is our carrier wave. It's going out at 80% its max amplitude value. So crank it up to 100. Doesn't really matter. Is it playing? Yeah, still not very interesting. So let's start turning on some carrier waves. So right click. And then if you click at the spaces between here, this is like our FM matrix. It shows how all our envelopes are routed. So FM8 is a really cool synthesizer. You can, modulate your carrier wave, or your main carrier wave back into your modulating oscillator, and just just make a web of like crazy ass sound stuff. This shit is really hard to learn. So it might take a little bit of practice, but if you're really looking to, you can create sounds with like anything, and some synthesizers are better than others. But if you're looking to broaden your sound design, definitely don't overlook FM synthesis. Big major key. So look at this. We have everything like cascading, everybody's modulating each other. So that means by the time this wave gets down here, it's super complex. And so when you're modulating your basic ass little sine wave over here with like some crazy complex wave, speaking of which, I'm just gonna make a square for hell's sake. It's crazy. But the thing we don't want it, if you click on env over here, you don't want everything to be on all the time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna link B with A, with C, with D, with E, not F. We want to leave F alone. And so we just linked all these envelopes together. I'm going to grab here, pull it right down. So that's just, some basic thing. Oh, and I also promised to show you my Haas effect patch. Okay. So this one doesn't really have much on it. Let's go up here, audio effect track, Haas effect. Okay, so here's the before. Obviously, this is better if you're wearing headphones or sitting in front of a nice monitor system. Anyway, before. After. And all it is I split the channel into two stereo channels. I panned one hard left and hard right, which is also controlled by this panning, so I don't have to pan them super hard, I can pan them like medium halfway or something. And then on one of the channels, I just put a simple delay. And so you want it between 15 and 30 seconds. And so when your brain perceives a stereo delay between like the left and right channels, that's how you triangulate a sound, and that's how you locate like the source of a sound. So the psychoacoustic effect is just, it's fantastic for mixing. So hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. You can grab these sounds at the link below at synthmob.com. I have this in several packs. I have it in Future Beats and my Deep House pack. So this is some kind of like future deep sound. So I'll fade you out with this.